Hi, my name is Madison Thompson, and these are my Phylum Project archives. This is organism number 3, Tracheophyta, and this is actually division because Tracheophyta is in the plant kingdom. This is for Biology 102, section 4. So the division Tracheophyta, it contains all green plants with vascular systems. So green plants are plants that undergo photosynthesis using chloroplast, and plants with vascular systems, like us humans, have not veins and arteries, but xylem and phloem, which carry nutrients throughout the plant. They also have stroma, which function similar to how our lungs do to take in specific nutrients and to take in oxygen and carbon dioxide. Plants taking carbon dioxide, we take in oxygen. All seeded and most non-seeded plants are in this division, and seedless subdivisions are lycophytes and ferns, and seeded subdivisions are gymnosperms and angiosperms. The organism of focus here, the Pinus edulis, is a seeded plant in the gymnosperm subdivision, and it's also a pine. So as you can see, there's many subdivisions in the Tracheophyta division. Pines are conifers, and conifers are unique in their distribution of seeds through external objects. Conifers utilize natural selection based on whose seed is the tastiest and whose seed provides the most calories to spread. So for example, the seed of Pinus edulis that has 3,000 calories per seed is going to be consumed much more than a seed that, say, only had 200 calories. So therefore, Pinus edulis is going to be spread throughout the ecosystem and the environment much more than the other seed will and the other plant will, and it will allow it to proliferate more. So that's how these plants have natural selection, and that's how conifers function. Pinus edulis is commonly called the pinyon pine, and the genus name for pinyon comes from the Spanish word pinon, which means pine. The species name edulis is derived from the Latin word edible. The edible portion of Pinus edulis is the nuts, which pack around 3,000 calories each. The taxonomic information for this can be seen on the right. And here's some images. So as you can see, it does flower at times, and that's here on this marker. When I visited this park, it's Dead Horse State Park, there were not flowers on these plants, but you can see in the middle picture that they have green, almost Christmas tree-like protrusions from each branch that show it does in fact perform photosynthesis. You can also see that it's a tree, and it's a very large tree, so it must have a vascular system to get nutrients everywhere they need to be. So that kind of shows you the qualifications for it to be in the division that it is. The mode of nutrition for this is a photoautotroph. Photoautotrophs produce their own energy from sunlight using chloroplasts. They perform photosynthesis in their autotrophs. They don't have to consume other organisms. They're automatically producing the energy they need. So the definition of a photoautotroph is an organism that produces its own food and energy through photosynthesis. And the formula for that can be seen on the slide. It converts energy from sunlight into usable forms through its own processes, the glucose formation formula, and it gains carbon through internally regulated stroma. So the stroma are regulated by cells that are on the plant stem and leaves and roots, and they're opening in the stalk. The organism can decide how large or small the opening is to regulate the gases, hydrogen, and nutrient flow of the organism. But some nutrients can't be gained through the air, and they're still essential to survival. So they're received through the plant's roots. Plant's roots form symbiotic relationships with nitrogen-fixing bacteria and other bacteria to help them take in nitrogen, phosphate, and sulfur in usable forms. And then they always have a surplus of energy as a primary producer. As long as these nutrients are available and sunlight is available, they can produce as much energy as they need. Modes of reproduction for this. Pines utilize sporic reproduction. So sporic reproduction is a process that is very complicated and includes both haploid and gamete cells. So as you can kind of see in this cycle here, sporic reproduction begins with a 2N1 haploid cell, and it progresses all the way around. Then it undergoes meiosis, it's split, and sexual reproduction occurs. So the 2N1 goes through mitosis, splits into 2N2, then replicates into 2N2. So there's two cells, there's a duplicate, and then that progresses until there's the needed number of cells, 2NK. All of these cells then undergo meiosis, where they're then split, And then there's N sub 1 and N sub 2 until there's the proper amount N sub I. These are these haploid cells, no longer diploids. And then the haploid cells come together in sexual reproduction that occurs in the male and female portions of the plant to produce a diploid cell. And then those continue and the process goes on. So source, range, and distribution. This sample of Pinus etyleus was found at Dead Horse State Park in Utah. And Pinus etyleus is a desert plant that is most commonly found in the western United States and Chihuahua, Mexico. Pinus etyleus has a dispersive distribution. It's not uniform in any specific area. The two maps below show this. So this map here looks almost like a weather radar with a line of split up storms. But the green area shows you where this plant is found and where it's most common. And then the white area over here shows you where it can be found in Mexico. The habitat for these organisms are dry areas with little to no vegetation, typically classified as deserts. This includes canyons, cliffs, valleys, etc. in the western United States, and rocky landscapes. So this picture here is a picture that I took on my vacation, and it shows where these organisms are commonly found. This was found on the top of the cliff in this specific location. The primary ecological role of these organisms is to provide high-calorie nutrition to small animals in the desert, such as chipmunks and birds. Their seeds contain up to 3,000 calories. They also provide cattle, horses, sheep with proteins, fatty acids, amino acids, carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals when the plant itself is consumed. But the seed itself does a similar purpose for the smaller organisms. So they actually have a unique purpose, and they provide nutrients and energy for both large and small organisms. And the pinyon juniper communities, which the Pinus etyleus is part of, provide habitats for birds, mountain lions, bobcats, elks, mule deer, and other mammals. Some more examples are listed below. And these trees, when they come together, form a forest in the desert, a collection of a lot of trees where these organisms can hide, camouflage, and kind of have a safe haven from the natural elements of the desert. So without these trees, without the Pinus etyleus around, it would be harder for organisms to get high calorie snacks. It would be harder for organisms to get their needed micro and macronutrients, and there would be much less camouflage available and much less safe habitats available. And here are my references. Thank you for watching my video.